Hi everyone. So we're more than halfway through the course now. I hope you all are enjoying it and are ready for your working on your poster projects and your focus essay. So this week we're talking about copyright and open access as well as internet searching. So copyright, for example, the United States Constitution is copyrighted. Copyright covers works of the following types: literary, musical, dramatic, choreographic, pictorial, graphic, and sculptural, sound recordings, derivative works, compilations, and architectural works. The copyright of 1976, which has been much amended, said that copyright grants you, the rights holder, allowing exclusive rights to your intellectual property that includes reproducing the work in copies, preparing derivative works, distributing copies, publicly performing the work, publicly displaying the work, and digitally transmitting the work. Other types of protection are patents for inventions, machines, chemical, genetic constructions, and manufacturing processes, and then trademarks for word, name, or symbol to identify goods or services, for example, FedEx. The public domain is after copyright is expired. It falls into what is called the public domain, meaning that they can be used by anyone for anything, such as now Pride and Prejudice is under public domain, so people can copy the idea into something else. The Night of the Living Dead. Copyright lasts a very long time. As you can see, there's a lot of acts regarding copyright. The latest was the 1998 Act of the Sony Bono Act. So, terms for copyright: fair use. It's the fair use exception allows students and others to make fair use of copyrighted works in certain contexts. A judge determines if something is fair use according to a four-way test: the purpose and character of the use, the nature of the work, the amount used to compare to the whole, and the effect on the market. So, Creative Commons, for example, is fair use. You can use any image and copy it. Searching for images you can legally use on Google. There's some that you can't. You have to make sure that your tools are correctly searching for images that you can reproduce. Open access means online and availability and reuse rights, so people can do interesting things in new ways with the materials. For example, the Pride and Prejudice versus Zombies. We do have open access journals at ESF that you can look at the LibGuide for a list of them from Moon Library's website. There's other places you can find free stuff. Images, there's some websites. Video, there's some websites. So you can take a look at those. You can also do some audio. YouTube has an audio library, and archive.org has some free audio. So what's intellectual property? It's creations of the mind, such as inventions, literary and artistic work, designs, symbols, names, and images used in commerce. It's protected by law through patents, copyright, and trademarks. So you can watch this video on copyright and then go to the next slide. Copyright is a law that provides creators of original works control over how those works can be used. Things that cannot be copyrighted, like ideas, facts, slogans, but there is a trademark law, and government works. Copyright currently exists for the life of the author plus 70 years. When publishing an article in a scholarly journal, usually the author transfers their copyrights to the publisher, who then controls how the article can be used. So licensing means the copyright holder may license the work, giving provisions on how the work can be used. For example, the publisher's license journal content to subscribers or libraries. This is what allows you to print off articles from databases. Digital rights management, you have access to control technology used to restrict usage of proprietary software, hardware, or content. There's an issue with ebooks and electronic journals, and it's not universally accepted and unclear whether it actually helps prevent copyright infringement. for digital rights management. So fair use has limitations in copyright law on how a copyright work can be used and how much of it. Copies of book chapters and other works can be made. You cannot copy the whole book or a large portion of it. Making copies for commercial purposes is not considered fair use. Usually this provision is used for educational purposes. First sale doctrine means if you buy a copyrighted book, you are able to share, lend, or copy it without asking permission unless otherwise stated. This enables libraries to share and lend books and provide access to journals purchased through subscriptions. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act is a copyright law that criminalizes production of technology devices and content intended to circumvent measures that control access to copyrighted works, such as the digital rights management. It heightens penalties for copyright infringement on the internet. It was signed into law by Bill Clinton in 1998, and this is important as more and more information is available on the web, and there's a need to protect the copyright of those works. Now, Creative Commons, a lot of you may have used this. It provides a way to share your work and license it, particularly content on the internet. The licenses make it easy for others to see how they can share and use your work. It's a mix and match of these conditions. Attribution, it requires that those who use your work must give you credit the way you request. Share alike, others can copy, distribute, display, perform, and modify your work as long as they distribute any modified work on the same terms. Non-commercial, others may copy, distribute, display, perform, and modify and use your work for any purpose other than commercially unless they get your permission first. No derivatives, others may copy, distribute, display, and perform only original copies of your work. And search for licensed work, like images you can use in a presentation. So open access literature is digital, online, free of charge, and free of most copyright and licensing restrictions. So learn more on open access on that YouTube link. Open access and journal licensing. Many journal publishers now offer the option for authors to publish an article open access, but often authors have to pay a high fee. Institutions are beginning to request that researchers put their articles in an institutional repository like Digital Commons, and publishers have rules about doing so. Usually the fully published form of an article cannot be posted in an institutional repository, which are usually accessible to anyone, because the publisher holds the copyright to the final version, not the author. So see Sherpa for specific licensing and open access procedures for most journals. So open access resources are still high quality and peer reviewed. For example, international science journals. O.A. Eyster, Director of Open Access Journals. Some open access journals are Bioprocess, Journal of Biophysical Chemistry, PLOS1, and more are listed in research guides on Moon Library's LibGuide. There are questions raised about the quality of peer review process in open access. Bogus articles have been accepted by journals claiming to provide peer review. For example, Who's Afraid of Peer Review in the Science Journal is a bogus peer review article. So what is your responsibility as a researcher regarding copyright? For example, this happened back in 1972, or back in 2001, a researcher at Johns Hopkins was conducting research on treatments for asthma, and a lab assistant died from inhaling a test drug. While there's many issues with this study, take note that the literature in the 1950s indicated that this drug was unsafe and was taken off the market in 1972. Investigation revealed that the researcher did not look back far enough to find the information. He only considered articles he could get electronic full text of from databases. He did not seek out previous research that was not indexed in the databases, like on library shelves. Remember that not everything exists fully online. And you can read more about the article on Science Direct. So the digital divide can be defined as the gap between those who can access and or benefit from the internet or digital technologies and those who cannot, sometimes described as an economic inequality. It's the gap between rural and urban. Socioeconomic status among individuals, businesses, and countries. There are initiatives, especially among state governments, to bridge this gap. often providing money to expand broadband or Wi-Fi access. Libraries are uniquely situated to help in providing the access and the education on the benefit of access, like how to use a computer, internet, etc. This issue can relate back to our discussions on science literacy. How are people able to learn about science to make decisions for their well-being? So here's an exercise that you can choose to do to learn more. So go on Science Zine. Science Zines are small pamphlets made out of a single 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that provide basic information about a particular science topic. They can address a broad range of audiences, from kindergartners to college-educated adult population. A Science Zine's goal is to bring science information to the general public in an unconventional way, making it a cool and easy and unlikely way of spreading science literacy. Science Zines are often left at bus stops, hair salons, and cafes in hopes that they will be picked up and read. You can start thinking of unlikely places to put your zine. It's important to find software that can provide an appropriate and easy-to-use template, which will allow placing all of the zine pages on a single 8.5 by 11 sheet. Microsoft Publisher is a good example of this. Most schools provide appropriate tools to help students with their projects. Check with ITS on your campus or ask the library to see what is available at your school. So if you want, this is not required, but if you wanted to think about doing this, then you think about your prospective audience. Who would want to read your zine? Your dorm neighbors, your parents, your little brother or sister, perhaps your volunteer. Select a topic and conduct preliminary research. Identify the scope and plan. Identifying will help you figure out what you don't know about your topic and how to proceed. Scope will help you figure out how much you need to find out about your topic in order to have enough information for your zine. The plan will equip you with some helpful tools that you might use in your research. Your research should include basic definitions, any controversy there might be about the topic, and why it's important for the public to become familiar with this topic. It's also important to have your personal opinion about the topic or issue, because you will be collecting information and formatting it for publication. It has to look persuasive. So you would just create a page-by-page outline, but you don't have to do this. This is just an example of copyright, open access stuff. So your actual homework for this week is Assessment 4 on Internet Searching, and that is due, these are all due on Sunday. I didn't do separate PowerPoints for in-person in here, but these are all due Sunday, September 22nd at 11:59 p.m. Assessment 4, the copyright quiz. There is an Evaluating Websites activity, and then there's a blog on Chapter 5 for Information Literacy User Guide. So you can see all that on Blackboard. And now we'll go on to evaluating internet sources.